Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka Juan33. I'm back here today with another episode of the Legit Shoot podcast. Here with your SmackDown review of results for July 23rd, 2021. Thank you guys, as always, for joining me here on the channel. I'm not really going to waste much time today. I kind of want to get right into SmackDown, but before we do, let me just give you guys some quick announcements. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. Also, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel and have notifications enabled, so you guys are notified every time I post a new podcast or a new video, depending on if you guys watch my anime and some of my other content. It's been a huge week when it comes to WWE news, right? We finally are back on track for the most part with the weekly SmackDown reviews. And if you guys haven't, check out the SmackDown review from last week. First review back with live fans. But if you guys haven't already, if you guys missed the other two big reviews from earlier this week, Money in the Bank, of course, and Monday Night Raw, go check those out, right? Money in the Bank, we had the return of John Cena, which, of course, we'll be talking about tonight with John Cena and Roman Reigns continuing their build towards SummerSlam. We also have the Monday Night Raw review, which featured Nikki Cross winning the Raw Women's Championship via cash-in, Karrion Kross's debut, the return to Keith Lee, and all that stuff. And that was a review right there, man, because I went off about a lot of things on that review. So if you guys haven't checked out already, go check out this past Monday's Raw review. Last thing, I'm gonna quickly mention this just because I didn't make a separate video on this. It seems that AEW has signed Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. There hasn't been any official announcement by the company, but basically almost every single wrestling news site has basically reported that, Daniel Bryan has signed with AEW, and the big thing there was he wants to work less states, he wants to work with New Japan, and he wants to have a say in his career, or in his character. And CM Punk, it seems like he has also signed AEW, which is the bigger move, right? Daniel Bryan to go in AEW is huge because we always thought he was a WWE for life guy, especially with the Yes Movement and all the history he has in WWE. Plus, he's going to be a future Hall of Famer one day, all right? CM Punk should be a future Hall of Famer, but, we all know CM Punk, he's been gone. He hasn't wrestled in nearly a decade. It's been 7 years since he left WWE. And at his peak, he was one of the biggest stars in the entire wrestling world. Now, if it is true that he is coming back, and, a lot of people already making predictions that he's going to be making his debut at All Out, that is humongous. These two signings are huge for the future of AEW. We talk all we want about how AEW has so much top-level talent that could be AEW World Champion, TNT Champion, right? They have so many superstars that deserve to hold titles in that company. It's ridiculous. And we know Tony Khan has no problem spending the money. It's just wild to me how big AEW has become, truly, because as much as WWE pisses me off creatively, I still support them. I'll come out here and bitch and moan about how much the product stinks and how it needs to change. But you have AEW here making legitimately big moves. And these are moves that honestly could propel AEW in the next couple of years to maybe become the number one wrestling company. I'm not saying WWE is done for, but the days of WWE just being at the top alone and not having to worry about their competition, those days are over. AEW is making moves, and AEW is not perfect, but people are not going to watch AEW just to see guys like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. It's one thing to get guys like Andrade and, Aleister Black and all these other, former WWE names. But once you add freaking CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, especially back when in the mid 2010s in 2014, 2015, these two were the most popular superstars in WWE outside of John Cena and The Shield. then of course they're gonna make. Of course, them going to AEW is going to cause a hell throughout the entire community. So what does this mean for WWE? It's first of all, it's sad that they're not gonna get Daniel Bryan back. You know, the fact that Daniel Bryan actually is not going back to WWE, that is very, very sad, right? But the CM Punk thing, Punk's been gone now for 7 years. And as much as people would love to see CM Punk back in WWE with best in the world and all that, because I don't think he's going to have the entirely, I don't think he's going to have the same gimmick in AEW, but we'll see. It tells WWE that you have to put your best foot forward now. Not just for SummerSlam, but going forward. That means, you know what that means to me? It means Fitz has to go. He has to go. He is too out of touch these days to be in charge of the creative side. I say this all the time. If you want Vince on the business side, fine. He strives there. He thrives there. He's still really good at what he does on the business side of WWE. But when we're talking about the creative side, he's been out of touch now for close to half a decade. Now you have AEW knocking on your door. Their viewership is getting bigger every single week. They're getting consistent 1.1s, 1.2, while SmackDown and Raw struggle just to get into the twos. And now imagine how much, what's the demographics going to look like and the ratings going to look like. If not only if Daniel Bryan and CM Punk debut at AEW All Out, imagine that, and the Dynamite after that. Everybody's going to watch Dynamite that day to see, what is CM Punk doing in AEW? What's his plans? Daniel Bryan as well. So WWE is in legit trouble right now. This is what happens when you don't care about your roster. They get frustrated, they want to be released, or they wait till the contract expires, and then they go to AEW. Now, this isn't a joke anymore. It isn't. Right? WWE cannot just sit back and say, we don't care who goes there. Now you should care. You got a future Hall of Famer in Daniel Bryan, who was just fighting for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. He was in the main event of your biggest show 3 months ago. 3 months ago, imagine saying Daniel Bryan would be in AEW by the summer. Imagine that. No one would believe that. But here we are. Daniel Bryan was in the main event of WrestleMania, the biggest wrestling show in the world, and he left that company just 3 months later. It's crazy. It is insane to think about. And now CM Punk, one of the most popular wrestlers from the past decade, finally looks like he's coming back. And, it might take CM Punk time to get back in ring shape, of course, but just the fact of him being back and being with AEW, that is going to be huge, huge. And if you think AEW's Tro job was bad before, right? You guys see the video of Tony Khan calling, what was it, AEW Dark, he called it like AEW Dark, the real performance center. Clearly taking what is it called? Clearly taking a shot at NXT at the performance center, right? I don't know why he does that. The guy's a clown. I don't care how much money you are. The guy comes off as an idiot. But still, if you thought AEW's Tro job was bad now, imagine how bad it's going to be now with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. And who knows, if you give Punk creative control, that guy's going to come out and shit on WWE all the time. He's not going to hold anything back. So the point of this is, it's shocking. It's kind of sad just being a wrestling fan, or being a WWE fan, knowing that now they're going to AEW, right? Because I'm not the biggest fan of AEW. I will watch, of course. But there's no way I'm not going to want to see what Punk and Daniel Bryan are doing in AEW. Of course I'm going to watch. I keep up with AEW every week. I'm not the biggest fan, but at least I keep up knowing what's going on with their product. But now, it's not only sad that WWE's at the point where they're losing top-tier talent to another company. And it's sad that it seems like now AEW gets more top-tier talent than WWE. Not only is that sad, but it's just disappointing that WWE doesn't realize that they can fix these problems just by fixing their creative control and who's in charge. Put Triple H in charge of creative and have Vince McMahon step down. It's really that simple. It really is that simple. I'm looking at Daniel Bryan, the WWE shop. So his merch is still here. His merch is still here, but it's all most of it's on clearance now. Like most of the T-shirts are on clearance. So clearly, like I said, Daniel Bryan he's leaving. He's leaving. That's what this tells me, which is very sad, man. I'm gonna miss Daniel Bryan. Really, not get to see the Yes movement in front of crowds anymore, especially now that we have fans back in attendance. But let me know what you guys think of the big news of Punk and Bryan going to AEW. Let me know what you guys thought. But those are my, small thoughts. I thought I would open the podcast with that since everybody's talking about it. WWE needs this is a huge wake up call. This is the wake up call for WWE. Get your shit together creatively. Get your shit together. Now, back to it. We're going to get into SmackDown, right? And the focus mainly today is going to be on the Universal Championship scene and Edge and Seth Rollins, right? We did not have the return of Sasha Banks last night like a lot of people thought, but I'm okay with that. We know that part of WWE SmackDown took place at Rolling Thunder in Miami. I forget which artist was performing there, but first of all, the aesthetic of the Rolling Thunder looks beautiful. There were so many people there, right? Taking place outdoors. It looked great. It even had a really cool stage and everything. But you didn't have, the only thing that was weird is you didn't have the wrestling ring in the middle of the crowd. You had it at the, front of a stage, So for people that were there, it was almost impossible to see what was going on unless you were watching on one of the Titantrons. And plus, the crowd just didn't really care about SmackDown because they were not there for the wrestling. They were there for the music. The wrestling was kind of more of just a perk of them being there. So clearly, there was lots of enhanced audio, piped in crowd effects, stuff like that. Because they did not care about the Street Profits match, and they didn't care about the Bianca BelAir Carmella title match. So how much would they have cared if Sasha Banks had come out? So I'm kind of glad Sasha did not return there because that would not have been the best place for a Sasha Banks return. I would expect Sasha to be back next week, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Right? But, like I said, the big things that happened on SmackDown were John Cena and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and Edge. This wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a bad show. It's just that it wasn't anything too crazy. But I expect, or I would hope, that the shows would get better and better as we slowly get towards SummerSlam. Because, like I said, WWE needs to put their best forward. You want SummerSlam to be the biggest show of the year, right? You want SummerSlam to be the WrestleMania of 2021, since the WrestleMania you had this year only had about 14,000 people. Compared to the 70,000 you're going to have at SummerSlam, you need to put your best forward now. You got to put your best foot forward now. All right? So basically, we're going to get right into it, right? So the first thing that happened tonight is John Cena opened the show. No surprise here. No surprise. We knew Cena was most likely opening the show, but and we knew he was coming for Roman Reigns. He made his intentions clear on Monday Night Raw that he wants Roman Reigns. He wants the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, right? Because John Cena is an asshole, which is still hilarious to me. So, Cena came out to a huge pop. Cena's getting some of the biggest pops of his career these days, man. Like, he's barely gotten booed because people are realizing, and I love this, right? Because I grew up a huge John Cena fan. People are realizing that, love him or hate him, Cena's the biggest star of WWE of this era, of the modern day era. Since the end of the Attitude Era, Cena's the biggest star. And even though people in Cena's prime may not liked him because he had been overpushed and overbooked, he was always the Superman. But because of that Superman booking, that's what made him the biggest star in WWE. And then when he left for Hollywood, right, and he didn't come back. Remember, the first couple times, the first like year and a half, Cena would come back every 2-3 months, right? He would stay with the company for a month or two, and then he would be gone filming something. Then when those I guess you could say those movie time, right? Whatever you want to call it. Whenever Cena left, when he was gone longer than a couple months, when 2 months became 5 months, when 5 months became 6 months, when 6 months became nearly a year, that's where people are like, damn, we truly miss John Cena. We truly miss one of the all-time greats. Maybe we didn't like him in his prime, but damn, do we at least miss seeing him on WWE television. So now that Cena is back, we don't know how much time we know we're gonna have with Cena. We know that Cena is a big Hollywood star now, right? As with his roles as Peacemaker and him being in freaking Fast and Furious, the deals and the movies he's in are only gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you got to use the time that you have Cena with now and take advantage of it. He's in his late 40s. You don't know how much time he's going to be wrestling still. Cena loves WWE. We know that. But he's not going to be wrestling forever. So take advantage of it now. And people are actually growing to appreciate John instead of dislike him because they recognize him for being one of the pillars of WWE's greatness over the last couple generations. And, they just want to enjoy his presence while they still have it. Because when the day comes that Cena retires, he's done. He's going to be in Hollywood full time. You may only get Cena for maybe for like a Raw reunion or a SmackDown anniversary special. That's it. So you got to enjoy what you have with Cena now while you still have it. But I'm going to play Cena's promo for you guys.
If you want to sell online, make sure you stand out. Go to Wix e-commerce and create a professional online store that will grab shoppers'
love
attention.
these ads.
Build.
Speaking of Roman Reigns, where the hell is he? Wait. I think he knows that he can't see me. And after SummerSlam, he's going to realize that the champ is here!
Yeah, remember, at this point, Roman has not accepted Cena's challenge. He has not accepted Cena's challenge as of now.
Let's get fired up! Let's get him out here!
And, this is how good John Cena is, man. Right? He knows how to play off the crowd and their emotions, no matter if they're booing him and no matter if they're cheering him. And the thing about it is, he has been getting cheered because, like I said, people are recognizing that Cena doesn't have much time left. So they're going to appreciate what they have with John, as long as he's there.
Do you hear that, Roman? Do you hear that, Roman? Come on out! Let's make this happen. Let's make history right here, right now. Come on out, Roman Reigns. Come on out, Roman Reigns.
And you see Roman Reigns as the head of the table. He's not going to do what Cena tells him to do. This is Roman Reigns. This is his territory now. He's the new top dog of WWE. He believes Cena and Edge and all these people he's beat, they're of the past. So Roman's like, I'll come out on my show when I choose to.
Please come out, Roman Reigns, man.
The storytelling here is great. You can tell just by these little details. If you pay attention to the details, right, it's almost like Reigns is disrespecting Cena by not coming out and giving him an answer to his challenge face to face.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Here comes Paul Heyman.
You have it all wrong. I, Paul Heyman, give you my word. Tonight, you will get an answer to your challenge. When, but only when, Roman Reigns decides to come out and show you and everyone here live tonight that the tribal chief is here!
Paul Heyman is absolutely fantastic. He could have easily said, and it would have made sense because Roman Reigns is the current Universal Champion. He could have easily said, oh, that the champ, the true champ, is here. But instead, he stopped himself and said, no, the tribal chief is here, throwing a little insult at John Cena, a little jab in the process. Great stuff from Paul Heyman here. This is the best part. Oh my gosh. And that would be it. I'm actually going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to go straight towards the main event. Because why not talk about it, right? Why not talk about it right now? You know, Roman Reigns would have come out to the end of the show, and Roman cut a fantastic promo. This is one thing that I was really excited about, because I talked about this on the Money in the Bank review. When Cena and Reigns first had, when they had their first match back in 2017, right? Roman was still kind of a young pup, you know? Yes, he was one of the biggest stars in the company at the time, but he wasn't the definite face of the company, you know. And Cena at the time was still, you know, part-time, but wasn't fully Hollywood yet. He was still, you know, leaving every couple months and then coming back every couple months, right? So when we had Cena versus Reigns at that time, a lot of people wanted Cena to win because Reigns had been on this dominant run. You know, he had beaten The Undertaker. So actually, naturally, Cena was the more over babyface. Even though it was supposed to be a match and a feud for Cena to put Reigns over, kind of as almost like a passing of the torch moment, no one wanted to accept that. And seeing as Cena absolutely destroyed Reigns on the mic during that feud. He owned him. Some of Cena's best promos of his career were given during that build-up to that match. And we all remember the night where Cena told Reigns, I'm still here because you can't do your job. Now, here we are 4 years later. Roman is no doubt the face of the company. No doubt is he the face of the company. And now with Roman Reigns, you know, his mic skills have evolved to the point where he can go toe-to-toe on the mic with absolutely anybody. He has his own unique style about him, which makes everything he says feel important. He's not that guy like back in 2017 who would forget his promo lines and Cena would destroy him for it. Now he's a guy that can actually go toe-to-toe on the mic with Cena. Even though most of us would believe that Cena still is one of, if not the best talker in WWE history, Reigns can hold his own as a top star. Let me play Roman's promo.
Tonight's top story, missing teenager Kate Wallace.
She was so happy. We were so happy. If you know anything...
John Cena acknowledged me at Money in the Bank. John Cena acknowledged me on Monday Night Raw. He acknowledged me tonight. And Paul, to be honest, I wanted to acknowledge John. I did. I really did. Yeah.
Reigns is like, I wanted to give Cena the respect he deserves. Because basically, Reigns is basically saying, oh, Cena, by calling me out, he's acknowledging me as the top dog. Because Reigns could easily say something like, oh, Cena could go after Bobby Lashley in the WWE title. but he's coming after me, the top dog, the top champion in the WWE.
Hollywood fooled me. They put a whole new paint job on John. I thought we were going to get something new. I thought we were going to get something special. But what happened at Money in the Bank? What happened? He came out here and he put on a nostalgia act.
This is great.
It's the same thing. He came out here, the same music, the same entrance, the same run to the ring, the same outfit, the same promo, the same insults.
This is great. This is great.
If I wanted that, all I had to do was search online for 2005 John Cena. It's the same thing over and over and over. It's like missionary position every single night.
This is how now I'm actually starting to see if WWE choose to. Not now. Now I'm actually starting to see how WWE could turn Roman Reigns into a babyface. Truly. It would not be hard. You have Reigns cut lines like that where it's actually supposed to, because remember, Reigns is supposed to be a heel here, right? Instead, when you say something hilarious like that, it's going to get the crowd laughing. He's going to get cheers. So definitely, this would be an easy way to turn Roman Reigns face sometime in the future, because it's been reported that WWE has a plan. They want to turn Roman back to a babyface eventually. I've been on the record saying I would rather Roman to stay heel for the rest of his career since he's so good in this role. But Roman Reigns, as the head of the table as a babyface, could work. Could work. It may need a couple slight changes, but it could work at the end of the day. But Roman's lines here are hilarious. You know, nostalgia act, because look at it. Roman Reigns adapted, right? A couple of years ago when he was facing up against John Cena, he was kind of a young pup. You know, now he's no longer wrestling with the vest. He has arguably the best theme song in all of the business. He's completely changed his style in the ring and outside the ring, right? Roman has evolved, and Cena has kind of stayed the same. Yes, he's still a WWE legend. Yes, he's still one of the greatest of all time. But Cena wanted to always come out and talk about how people are always trying to cut the same promos on him. But Cena, he doesn't realize that he's the guy who hasn't changed. He's the one that hasn't evolved, right? You know, Cena spent all this time in Hollywood. Roman saying that he would think that Cena would learn a couple things. But Cena came back, and it's the same old thing. Same old entrance, new t-shirt, same promo, same run to the ring, same everything. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's legit changed is Cena has hair now. So you can't really disagree with what Roman's saying. But Roman is saying, man, I don't want to face the old John Cena. I want to face the same guy who's been doing the same thing for almost 2 decades. So I like that. I really do like, you know, what Reigns is saying in response to what Cena has been saying the last couple of shows.
In the tribal chief, the head of the table, we're not interested in that. No.
We're not interested in that. You can see, you can hear the cheers coming. Roman, I honestly, they can turn Roman babyface if they want. Or, you know, they honestly could.
I can't see you. I don't want to see you.
I don't want to see you.
I don't need to see you. I have no desire to see you. And guess what? We're not going to see you. We're not going to see you in the main event of SummerSlam.
And that's the easy way to get the boos once again. Reigns denies Cena's challenge. Does that mean we're not getting Cena and Reigns at SummerSlam? Hell no, we're getting it. It's going to be the main event. Only a casual would think that, oh, just because Reigns said no, it's not happening. It's happening. All right?
Because my answer to your challenge is no.
So then Finn Balor comes out.
Do as John Cena does and acknowledge me.
And acknowledge me. I love the way he says it. Acknowledge me.
I'm not here to acknowledge you, but if you're not interested in John Cena's challenge, maybe you're interested in mine.
Wow!
And Reigns is just sitting there laughing. Like, are you guys serious right now?
Cleveland seems to want it.
Reigns is just standing there thinking about it. And Heyman's talking in his ear. And then Roman scare cheers for the crowd.
Is Roman scared?
Of anything? No.
Challenge accepted.
So Roman accepts the challenge. Here's the thing. They didn't say anything about this match being at SummerSlam, right? And if I go to WWE's Twitter page, since it is the next day, I don't know if the match has been announced yet, but clearly, I'm just trying to see what can I do. Clearly, this match does not take place at SummerSlam. They would have said it right away. And I'm checking WWE's Twitter page. Let me see. So I'm on WWE's Twitter page. Nothing has been fully announced yet. So Balor versus Reigns, it's not happening at SummerSlam, right? And look, if Cena wasn't back, you can make an argument that Reigns and Balor being the main event of SummerSlam makes sense. That's a match a lot of people would see. Even though we have seen the match before, we've seen it when Reigns was last Universal Champion, back on Raw when he was still a babyface a couple years ago. We've seen this match. And Reigns and Balor have good chemistry in the ring, so I expect them to put on another banger of a match, especially with how good Reigns has been as of late. But Balor will give it his best shot, but it will kind of be similar to Reigns, or it'll be similar to the Balor versus Karrion Kross. It just isn't that believable that Balor can beat Roman Reigns. It's not. Just like it wasn't that believable that Balor could beat Karrion Kross. I expect Reigns to win. And I think most likely, I would not be surprised. I don't know if Talking Smack is out yet, right? I believe this match will probably be announced for either next week on SmackDown or the week after. The reason why we're getting Balor versus Reigns right now is because WWE's trying to pass time with the story with Reigns and Cena. It's that simple. They're trying to pass the time till we get to SummerSlam. Right now, we still have 4 weeks left till SummerSlam. So they're going to pass the time. They're going to take their time, right? And try to fool you with the illusion that instead of Cena and Reigns, the huge money-making main event that would be for SummerSlam, but they're going to make you believe you're getting Balor and Reigns instead. What's going to happen is Balor and Reigns is going to take place on SmackDown either next week or the week after. It's going to be advertised as a big main event, of course, right? The first time the Universal Championship has been defended on SmackDown in front of a live crowd in who knows how long. They're going to make it into a big deal. They're going to make you believe that Balor has a chance, and then Reigns is going to win, right? If Edge couldn't beat Roman Reigns, if Daniel Bryan could have beat Roman Reigns, if all these other big names could have beat Roman Reigns, no disrespect to Balor, Balor's not going to do it as well. What's going to happen is Balor is going to lose, and probably most likely after the match, I could see Cena coming out and attitude adjusting Roman Reigns to send him a message like, accept my challenge, I'm still here, I'm not going away. Until I get my match at SummerSlam, this is what's gonna happen. That's what I think is going to happen. And then Reigns is going to, out of anger and out of feeling disrespected, then he's going to be like, okay, match is on for SummerSlam. You, me, Reigns, Cena, let's go. That's what's going to happen. I don't think it's even going to turn out. Some people are like, oh, what is it called? What if Reigns and Cena and Balor happens in a triple threat? No, they're going to want the main event to stay this big spectacle, one-on-one with Cena and Reigns. Of course, it would be a great triple threat. No lie. We would all I would love to see that triple threat, but not at SummerSlam. At SummerSlam, it needs to be one-on-one, John Cena, Roman Reigns, and that's where this is going. Reigns versus Balor is just kind of just a little pit stop, right? Because they're taking their time. They don't want to rush this feud because they never rush anything with Roman Reigns in general. So this is just them taking their time. And then with Balor, it's more just to establish Balor more as a main event star. Balor's going to look like a star in this match for Roman Reigns. More of a star than he already is. He's going to lose. He's probably going to lose clean. But still, Balor's going to come out looking like a star. Balor's not going to be the guy to take the Universal Championship off of Roman Reigns. If he could have done the Karrion Kross, he's not going to do the Roman Reigns. But it should still be a really good match. And I'm excited to see it. And I think it will take place on SmackDown either this coming week or the week after. So next up, we'll play Seth Rollins and Edge's face-off. You know, we all know Seth Rollins is Edge. That's being planned as one of the big main events for SummerSlam, right? We've talked about how epic the SummerSlam card could be with Cena and Reigns, Edge versus Seth Rollins, potentially Sasha and Bianca having their rematch. Who knows? Maybe Becky could be back for the Raw Women's Championships scene. Maybe a Big E cash-in against Bobby Lashley. Look, there's so much that could happen with SummerSlam. It could truly be an epic show. And I'm hoping it is an epic show, right? We know that Edge and Seth Rollins, we knew this confrontation was going to happen. I've been telling you guys it was going to happen for weeks. I legit called it at Money in the Bank how it was going to happen. Edge was going to have Reigns nearly beat, and then Seth would come in and interfere, and that's exactly what he did. Basically, Seth cost Edge the Universal Championship at Money in the Bank. So now Edge is going to want payback. Plus, a big, pillar or a big part of the storyline. A big part of the storyline is that is that Edge and Seth Rollins, they had a confrontation back in 2014, back when Edge was not medically cleared, and Rollins almost curb stomped Edge. That's a big part of the storyline because Edge hasn't forgotten that moment, and Rollins kind of believes that he should have curb stomped Edge in that moment. All right, that would have kept him from coming back and stealing his opportunity. So I'm going to play the promo segment between these two, which was really good.
Got a lot of history. Y'all know my history. You know what I've done? You know how hard I fought to get this back. Hell, you know how hard I fought to get all of you back. And if you watch Money in the Bank on Sunday, then you also know that I should be standing here as the Universal Champion.
Kind of true.
But I'm not. And there's one reason why. Seth Rollins. This goes back to 2014 when we first met.
There's the history being that, you know, the history they're reminding us.
You didn't pull the trigger then to get the job done because you never thought I'd be back here. But now I am back here. And I'm in your way. Seth, you have no inkling the Pandora's box of violence and mental pain that you have opened. I learned from the most evil minds in the history of this industry. I was in the Brood.
And then he goes back down WWE history, talking about some of the most destruction factions of all time.
The Ministry of Darkness.
The Ministry of Darkness. You hear how the crowd pop for that, right? Attitude Era, The Undertaker, the McMahons, the Ministry of Darkness, man. If for some of you guys young out there, go back on YouTube and see what the Ministry of Darkness was about during the Attitude Era. Some of the most violent, you know, scenes, some of the most violent stories in recent memory in WWE took place during the Ministry of Darkness's reign in the Attitude Era, led by The Undertaker and Paul Bearer. I love it. I love Edge's knowledge of wrestling history and how he uses it when he's crafting the story, man. He's so great on the mic. Everything he says feels so unique. And because you don't get to see that from other superstars today when they cut their promos. Sure, their promos might be good and they say something that's worth noting, but everything Edge here says is worth noting. He knows how to craft a story with a promo so well. Him, Cena, you know, Reigns is now on that level. It's fantastic.
You have no idea the depths that I will sink to get the job done. But you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out.
And Seth comes out.
About how much I despise this city. I was gonna hey.
Seth's still wearing those ridiculous suits. Ay, ay, ay.
I was gonna come out here, talk about how much I despise people like you. People like you and John Cena who want to come back whenever you want. You're going to jump the line. You want to take opportunities you don't deserve from people like me who've earned those opportunities. I was going to talk about how disgusted. Hear me out.
Hey, man, Seth kind of makes sense. He kind of makes sense. The reason why he attacked Edge made sense. Sure, he's a heel, right? And the way he does things, you know, is going to make us not cheer for him. But, you know, him being frustrated with guys like John Cena and Edge coming back and just jumping the line just because they're legends, right? Thinking that they can get championship opportunities whenever they want because they're legends. It's unfair to some of the other superstars who are there all year long. And they feel like they've earned championship opportunities. Rollins has made it clear now for the last couple months that he wants to be next to face Roman Reigns. And he hasn't gotten that opportunity. First Edge, now Cena. You can make the same comparison with Goldberg's bitch ass on Raw when going after Bobby Lashley. Wait, what has Goldberg done to earn a WWE Championship opportunity? What has Cena done to earn a WWE Championship opportunity? What has Edge done since losing at WrestleMania to earn a Universal Championship opportunity? So what Rollins is complaining about kind of does have a little bit of value because it does make sense if you're really looking at it.
Doesn't sound like they're listening. No. I was going to talk about all those things. But the more I thought about it, the more I agree with the people of Cleveland. I am thrilled that you are out here standing in my ring right now. Give it up for Grandpa Edge. Give it up for him. Nothing
Grandpa Edge
would make me happier than be the man to put an end to your little fairy tale comeback story. And look, if you keep pushing me and pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, when they talk about the Hall of Fame career of Edge, they're not going to talk about you. They're going to talk about the man who ended you. They're going to talk about Seth freaking Rollins.
Great line there by Seth. You keep pushing me, they're not going to talk about your Hall of Fame career. They're going to talk about the guy who ended your Hall of Fame career. So that's a great line by Seth. I can hate all these suits all he wants, but when the guy is intense, when the guy is serious, he is one of the best in the business on the mic. Great stuff by Seth here.
And I've got my boot on the back of your surgically repaired neck. I will not hesitate to pull the trigger.
So Seth is saying... So Seth is saying this ain't 2014 anymore, right? I have no hesitation to do what I didn't do back in 2014. I will destroy your neck this time. So I'm really enjoying this, the way the story is being crafted out.
Bang, bang. Pop, 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 pop. Poof, there goes your neck up in smoke.
Hey,
Yes.
remember what I said about not putting my hands on you? I'm a liar.
No hesitation there from Edge. And Edge with the right hand. And now pounded away.
So Edge and Seth start brawling. Edge hits Seth with the execution, but before he could hit the spear, Seth rolled out of the ring. So there you have it. So the match has not been announced yet for SummerSlam, but it probably will be here sometime next week, in the next couple weeks, and we'll see where this story goes. Should be an absolute banger with Edge and Seth Rollins, two of the very best at what they do. Like I said, on Monday, if WWE wants to try something, you know, maybe they want to do one of the craziest tag team matches in SmackDown history, they could do something where they could have Cena and Reigns team up, or not Cena and Reigns, Cena and Edge team up and go up against Rollins and Reigns. I think they should do that sometime in the next couple of weeks as we get closer to SummerSlam, right? I feel like that would be a good way to balance a little bit of in-ring action with the storytelling, because we know the promos are going to be there, but having a little bit of, you know, in-ring action, you know, to get us hyped for SummerSlam, no one's going to complain about that. But either way, good stuff here from the Universal Championship scene and Edge and Seth Rollins. So we're going to go through the rest of SmackDown pretty quickly, right? There was a lot of other small matches that took place on this 2-hour show. So we had Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn. We already talked about Finn Balor and how where he fits with the current Universal Championship plans. But this was Finn Balor's first match back on SmackDown in over 2 years. It's been, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's been 2 years since Balor last wrestled a match on SmackDown. And, you know, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, they're both really good at what they do, so you knew this was going to be a competitive match, right? This was a good match. It wasn't, you know, anything mind-blowing, but it was a good match to help reestablish Finn Balor as one of the top baby faces on SmackDown and remind people of how good he is in the ring. So, Zayn had control during the commercial break. We came back, and then Balor started, you know, coming back with his normal stuff. He counted out of an exploder suplex, did the double stomp, then he did a sing blade fold, and then he did the coup de grace for the hard-fought victory. So he's not really doing the 1915, I believe. So I don't know if that's something he'll save for big matches, because it was kind of his finisher in NXT. You know, he would do the 1915 after doing the coup de grace. So I don't know if he's just not planning to use it anymore, right? But still, he won with the coup de grace tonight. So, like I said, Balor, as long as we're not getting too much of Smiley Finn like the Balor we got before, I'm fine. You know, Balor needs to be treated correctly this time. He is too good just to be out here wasting his time smiling all the time. So, this was a good match. They get Balor reestablished on SmackDown. Plus, of course, we already talked about Balor and Reigns. So big things coming for Balor on SmackDown. So for right now, he is fine. Next up, we had Baron Corbin's descent. I don't know where this is going, guys. I don't. All right, if you guys have been watching SmackDown, Baron Corbin, he's been going through a huge depression as of late. Ever since he lost the crown to Shinsuke Nakamura, he has basically been talking about how he's lost everything. How he can't pay for his house, how he's lost his car, how he's struggling to put food on the table. So, and, he's doing a pretty good job of at least displaying that type of character with the way he's dressing, right? He hasn't gotten a haircut. So his bald spot in the front is showing. His beard is coming with all the gray hairs. So they're really giving up the vibe of this depression that Corbin's going to and how he can't get out of, financial troubles. So he was talking to Caleb Braxton backstage, and he told Caleb Braxton that he actually lost money on last week's attempt at collecting funds. If you guys remember the Corbin Fund website, that actually was a real website. It was a real website. It was just it was a real website, but what was I gonna say? You could actually donate money. I don't know why. I forgot what I was saying there for a sec, but it was just a fake website that was made by WWE for the purposes of that segment. You couldn't actually donate money to Baron Corbin because he doesn't really need it. It's just for storyline, of course. But Corbin said that he was able to get those funds because of a crooked business partner, and then he said, "What's wrong with me?" Right? So then we saw Big E make his way to the ring. And we all know Big E had a huge Money in the Bank weekend. He won the Money in the Bank contract. And even though I've seen people say, oh, what if Big E was the one to end Roman Reigns' reign of terror, right? What if Reigns defeats Cena at SummerSlam, and then afterwards Big E cashes in on Roman? Sure, that could happen, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think everyone knows that Big E is going after going after the man who beat Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank, mainly squashed him. He's going after Bobby Lashley and the WWE Championship scene on Raw. I think no matter what happens with Big E and whatever happens with Goldberg and Bobby Lashley, I think Big E is gonna cash in on Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam, because the WWE Championship match it's disappointing to say this. The WWE Championship match is not going to be that special. Especially if it's Goldberg and Bobby Lashley. It's not. It's going to be stupid. I'm sick and tired of seeing Goldberg. He can't wrestle anymore. The guy sucks. I would rather see Goldberg in AEW than WWE, if I'm being truly honest with you guys. Right? Go have Goldberg dance with Sting. But I expect Goldberg not to do anything in that match. I expect Lashley to win in about 5 minutes. And I think Big E will cash in afterwards. And I read the reports. WWE does have a plan. They have a big plan actually for Big E's cash in. I think Big E's already aware of it. So, you can see the excitement on Big E's face. And if it is happening at SummerSlam like we all believe, it's going to be a big moment. It's going to be an epic cash in. But, Big E's not going after Roman Reigns. He's going to cash in on Bobby Lashley. And then when we have the WWE draft, which is being moved to October, I believe, that's when, Big E will officially become part of the Raw roster. But, Big E came to the ring to give a celebration, right? But then, before he could even really say anything, Apollo interrupted him, right? Apollo talked about, congratulations on your contract, in his accent, right? Now you have a guaranteed championship opportunity. Kind of how, I took the IC title from you with my championship opportunity at WrestleMania. So, basically, Apollo was just coming out to brag. Even right now, he really hasn't had any competition for the IC champion. He didn't defend that Money in the Bank. He was in a mini feud with Big E and KO, but those things it's kind of died down a little bit. So we saw Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, and then Nakamura, and then Cesaro. All these guys came out, wanting opportunity at Apollo's Gold. And this is just another reminder of how absolutely stacked the how absolutely stacked the division, the mid-card division is on SmackDown. You know, you didn't even have Kevin Owens involved in this, right? Like, or Sami Zayn or Finn Balor. Those are there's so many names that you can involve in the IC title picture right now. The mid-card division is absolutely stacked. And even though it kind of didn't make sense for Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode to be out there since they're a tag team and to be focusing on, the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, it was whatever here. It was whatever. But basically, there was a brawl segment right between the babyfaces and heels. And then Cesaro put Apollo Crews in the swing position. So I don't know if the plan is Cesaro versus Apollo Crews, right? Because Cesaro's momentum has kind of stalled since losing the Roman Reigns and then losing the Seth Rollins. So he looked like he was being built up to be a huge main event guy, and then that momentum's kind of just halted in place. And I love Cesaro, right? And I know he has a future at the top of WWE, and I'm glad he's being pushed in the singles run, but right now, they're not doing much with him. If you want to have Cesaro go after Apollo Crews and the IC title, you can do that. You can do that. There's just so many names. It's hard to craft out an actual, plan for the IC championship because there's so much talent everywhere. There's so much. When you have guys like Balor and Nakamura and Cesaro and KO, right? And the list goes on and on and on. All guys that you could honestly make arguments should be world champions. It's like how do I craft in a division to keep all of them from not being champion? You know what I mean? Like, you can make arguments that all of them should be champions right now. So, Apollo has a lot of challengers, a lot of babyface challengers too. So for right now, for SummerSlam, what I would do, I know we just had a ladder match. But the men's Money in the Bank ladder match was so good, run it back. This time, do an IC title ladder match at SummerSlam. Apollo shouldn't just have one opponent. He should have everybody that's coming after his title. KO, Finn Balor, right? Depending on what happens with Balor. But like I said, I don't think Balor is beating Reigns. I don't think Balor's going to be in the Universal Championship match at SummerSlam. But put Balor in there, right? You could put Zayn, put Cesaro, right? Have like a 6 to 7 man ladder match for the IC title at SummerSlam. Clearly, you're not gonna have enough room on the card to fit all these guys into tag team or singles matches. So to get them all on the card, you could put most of them. You can put most of them in this ladder match. I feel like nobody would complain about it. So that's what I would do with the IC title, in my opinion. But still, just having that good of a division with all that talent, man, WWE has to take advantage of it. Because all those names deserves to be involved in the IC title picture, for being honest. But, moving on. Moving on to Rolling Stone, right? Rolling Stone in Miami. I gave my thoughts about this earlier, but I was just saying them again. The concept of Rolling Stone Rolling Loud. What the hell am I saying? The concept of Rolling Loud and having, a couple SmackDown matches there looks beautiful. The outdoor venue with all the fans looked fantastic. The problem is, this is not a WWE event. This was just a perk of being at this music festival. So most of the fans there didn't really give a shit about the WWE action. You could clearly hear piped in crowd noise like we were back at the WWE Thunderdome. And, you guys know, I think most of us can agree, we don't want to go back to the Thunderdome. We're done with that. That's over, right? So it was kind of like, it gets WWE out there a little bit more, especially at a music festival. You get more eyes on the product, maybe even get a couple more fans, give people an experience they've never had before. For those who may not be interested in WWE, it's kind of like being at a mini WWE show. So I can understand the concept, but it didn't do as well as I thought it would, especially with how much the crowd just really didn't seem to care about the WWE action, especially because WWE had to rely on piped-in crowd noise. But anyway, we saw with the music festival going on, right? We saw Dawkins and Montez Ford come to the ring, and Dawkins face Gable in one-on-one action, right? So the match wasn't anything special. Both matches from Rolling Loud weren't that special tonight. So Dawkins had the advantage early, but then Gable went after Dawkins' left arm. Dawkins survived the submissive attempts, fought back, and then ultimately got the win over Gable. So the feud's continuing with these two teams. Nothing too special. It was just And the thing about it is, here, a problem that came, you had the Street Profits there. The reason mainly that the Street Profits were there is because Bianca BelAir was there. Because we know that Montez Ford and Bianca BelAir, they're married. So it kind of made sense to have both of them there. So, but the problem is, this wasn't the type of match you want to put in front of casual crowds. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. Really, the crowd are Rolling Loud. They're not there for the WWE. At best, most of the people there are casual wrestling fans, if they know what WWE is at all. So this probably wasn't the best match that you wanted to put on in front of this crowd. But either way, it is what it is. And the Street Profits, they brought the energy, they brought the smoke. But, it was just eh. The thing that was cool about this was the visual. The stage looked great. And seeing WWE on this big pop culture stage, it looked good. It looked really good. The visual was amazing. That's what people are going to take away from this. And then in the future, this probably will give WWE an idea of maybe they should do an actual pay-per-view with this kind of environment. The only difference would be is it would be probably almost all WWE fans instead of just casual fans. The visual looked so good that I could definitely see WWE doing something like this in the future, having an event. And they actually announced later on in the night, Trae Young announced virtually that WWE will be doing their first pay-per-view event of 2022 in Atlanta, I believe, on New Year's Day. I don't know what it will be. It could be TLC. It could be Roadblock. It could be something different. I don't think it'll be the Royal Rumble. But it will be some kind of big pay-per-view. So we'll see what that is as we get into the fall months and we get closer and we find out what that pay-per-view will actually be. But yeah, moving on, we had Bianca BelAir versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was a rematch from last week after Carmella went on complaining how Bianca had cheated because, Bianca had used her hair strand. I didn't care about this match, really. Most of us cared about if Sasha Banks was going to come back or not. But the thing about it is, the more I thought of it, the more I was like, it doesn't really make sense for Sasha to return at a music festival. If you want Sasha to return and have that big, loud crowd reaction, it's going to be in front of fans in an actual WWE event. So it was like, to me, first off, it was like, all right, then if Sasha's not coming back tonight, because it doesn't make sense, there's really no point of doing Bianca and Carmella again. The match last week was whatever, but you knew Bianca was going to win. Just like you knew Bianca was going to win this week against Carmella. There was not any point during these two matches with Bianca and Carmella that I actually thought that Carmella had a actual shot at winning. I didn't. So it was kind of less interesting to me because I knew that Bianca was going to retain. And the match here at at Rolling Loud Music Festival was kind of the same as the match we got last week, and the match we got before this match with Angelo Dawkins versus Chad Gable. It was just the babyface fighting in an uphill battle, right? Bianca dominated the match early before Mella pulled her down to the apron, right? Then Carmella, was on the offensive for the next several minutes, but of course Bianca fought back. Then she hit Carmella with a huge shoulder tackle and then put her away with the K OD. Then Bel-Air celebrated in front of the crowd. The crowd didn't really seem to care too much, right? There was some Bianca cheers, but for the most part, they were just like, whatever, because like I said, it's a casual event. It's a good visual, and it's good marketing and publicity. I don't know why I can't pronounce the word. It's good. It's good press for WWE, and it could put some more eyes on the product. But at the end of the day, it was just like whatever to the people there. The visuals were great. The stage looked fantastic and all that. But at the end of the day, the fans there was just like, sure, this is kind of cool, but we don't really care about it too much. So that's the thing there. So this should end the Bianca and Carmella program, especially now that Bianca has defeated Carmella 2 weeks in a row. Now we got to get on to SummerSlam, right? Bianca versus Sasha Banks should be the plan. Bayley is injured, and there's nobody else on that division that's ready to go. Not Toni Storm, not Tegan Nox or Shotzi Blackheart. There's nobody left on that division, all right, at the moment that's ready to face Bianca at SummerSlam. It should be Sasha. Some of us believe Sasha was going to come back in Money in the Bank. Some of us believe Sasha would come back last week. Some of us thought Sasha would come back this week, right? But she's still not back. And it made perfect sense for her not to return tonight. I think Sasha Banks will be back next week. I at this point, this is where my confidence is. I think next week Bianca's going to come out, try to cut a promo saying, who's ready to face the EST at SummerSlam. And that's when Sasha's going to come out, get that big pop, and then the stage is set for the rematch. And it'll be interesting to see, will Sasha come back as a babyface? Will she come out as a heel? Since we haven't seen Sasha in over 3 months now, and Sasha's been trending on Twitter, even without returning. So people are ready for her to come back. So next week, if Sasha does not return next week, then I would actually start wondering, what are we doing here? Because we still have 4 SmackDowns left before, technically we still have 3 weeks till SummerSlam, but we still have 4 SmackDown shows left because remember, SummerSlam takes place the day after the go-home show on SmackDown. So technically we still have 4 SmackDowns left before SummerSlam, so they still have plenty of time to tell the story. But we got to get Sasha back now. Now it's time for her to come back. So if Sasha did not return next week, then I will start actually getting concerned, what's going on here? Is Sasha versus Bianca still the plan for SummerSlam? What are we doing here? Why has the match been, booked? But, Carmella retains, and I'm expecting next week that we get the return of Sasha Banks. So, next up, we had Toni Storm making her debut versus Celina Vega, right? Former NXT UK champion Toni Storm. So, she still had her music. She still had her normal entrance music. She gets to keep her name, for now at least. And this was not anything special. It was more of a squash match, right? Celina, stormed through Vega. Vega got no offense in. And basically Storm won with a headbutt and then hit Storm 0 for the quick victory, right? So Celina Vega, man, I don't know. She came back and it looked like she was going to get pushed as a heel on SmackDown a little bit. But she's come back and, she's in the same role she was in before. So you got released, decided to come back, and it looks like nothing better. You didn't do anything special in the Money in the Bank match. You've lost every single match you've been in since you've come, since you returned. So I don't know, Zelina. You have Aleister Black, now in AEW, getting ready for a huge match with Cody Rhodes in a couple weeks. But I don't know. I don't know, man. If I'm Zelina, was it worth it to come back to WWE? It looks like nothing has changed. So I don't know. But Toni Storm wins here. It's going to be interesting. It looks like for now she's a babyface. But I think Toni Storm as a heel is more interesting. But we'll see. We'll see. Because you already have Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart, who are baby faces. Now you have Toni Storm, who's a baby face for now. So, we'll see if that's the plan going forward. Like I said, it's good. Basically the way where the SmackDown Women's Division goes is all going to depend on what happens with Sasha and Bianca. If Sasha comes back and, regains the SmackDown Women's Championship and Bianca eventually gets pushed over to Raw in the WWE draft, then, clearly, you can have Sasha as the top heel and have her face all these baby faces and elevate them throughout the fall. If Bianca remains SmackDown Women's Champion, you'll probably have to, either turn Toni Storm into a heel. You may have to turn Shotzi or Tegan Nox into heels, even though that doesn't really make sense since they've always been baby faces. It's definitely going to be very interesting to see how this, situation unfolds. The SmackDown Women's Division has gotten an upgrade, and things will continue to change as we get closer to the draft and we get Sasha Banks back and we see what happens with Becky and all this other stuff. But so the path of the SmackDown Women's Championship and the division as a whole right now is unknown because we just don't know what's happening with the SmackDown Women's Championship at SummerSlam yet. So once we get more clearance on that, then we can start, mapping out a plan on what should happen with the SmackDown Women's Division. Next up, we had Dominick versus Jimmy Uso. This will actually be the last thing we talk about today since we already talked about Reigns and Balor's confrontation. So we know that the Usos won the SmackDown Tag Team titles from the Mysterios at Money in the Bank, right? So the feud's continuing here, and now we have Dominick versus Jimmy Uso. Probably going to have a rematch between these two teams at SummerSlam for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. And if that is the case, it is what it is. But tonight we had Jimmy versus Dominick. Well, probably next week we'll get Jay versus Ray, right? Or Jay versus Dominick. So this was a decent match. It was, decent action. So Dominick had Jimmy reeling entering the commercial break, hitting him with a suicide dive. But then Jimmy took control as we came back from the break. He wore Mysterio down, but Dominick continued the fight. Jimmy scored a roll-up with an assist from Jay for the win. Basically very similar to how they won the titles at Money in the Bank. And then as the Usos, celebrated and left the arena, Reigns came out for the main event. So, decent match here with these two teams. Like I said, we are going to be probably getting a rematch with them at SummerSlam most likely. And hopefully this time we'll actually get the match on the show instead of having it on the pre-show. It still boggles my mind, it still boggles my mind how the Tag Team Championship match between the Usos and Mysterios ended up on the pre-show of Money in the Bank, where we had new champions were crowned over AJ Styles and Almas defending against the Viking Experience. And we're getting that rematch between those two teams again on Monday Night Raw. So I don't know what WWE's line of thinking was still 5 days later. But, we'll see where this rematch goes. I don't see Dominic Mysterio winning the titles back, but we'll see what happens. But other than that, we already talked about the main event. This is where I'm going to end the review for today. Like I said, not a bad show. Wasn't anything special. But it was mainly the interactions with Cena, Heyman mocking Cena's music, which was absolutely epic, right? Reigns cut a great promo on Cena, and then the Balor interaction. That was great. Plus, Seth Rollins and Edge, I'm hyped for that, and hopefully next week we get the return to Sasha Banks. But all in all, not a bad show. Not a bad show on SmackDown. Wasn't perfect, but it got us to next week, and that's what matters, right? Something that Raw seems that they can't do. SmackDown, we can get a decent show, and they'll get bad ratings. But Raw, man, Raw is bad every week, So at least SmackDown can be decent here and there. And last night's show was decent. And hopefully with the return to Sasha Banks next week, hopefully things will get even better, right? Because, of course, SmackDown is... SmackDown's card for SummerSlam is what's going to make SummerSlam so good. Cena versus Reigns, Sasha versus Bianca, Edge versus Rollins. Those are going to be probably your top three matches at SummerSlam no matter what. So definitely hyped to see where SmackDown continues to go on the road to SummerSlam. And as always, I'll keep covering it for you guys right here on the podcast. If you guys enjoyed today's review, make sure to hit a like on the video. Also subscribe if you guys are new to the channel by hitting the bell right next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Follow me down on social media. The link is in the description, right? Also, guys, make sure you guys check out the Money in the Bank and Monday Night Raw reviews from this past week if you guys haven't already. Other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm going to get out of here. You guys stay safe and healthy, y'all. Peace.